Hello everybody, my name is Jin Kim. I'm a professor at the Graduate School of Technology and Innovation Management at Hanyang University in Seoul. I've always been a strong believer in the idea that the patent is a social contract between an individual, a company, and the government, and it acts as a protective barrier for all sides, which is why it is the most valuable knowledge nowadays. However, due to the rapid revolution of technology and design, there is a lag with the current patent system as well as its classifications, which is where my focus will be for today. My objective in this talk is to explore how we can ride the waves of changing design paradigms by adapting our patent system and laws. Since I began my career as an industry designer, I've witnessed the expanded value and recognition of strategic use of design patents, even though they are still limited. In this context, my research deals with IP analytics at the intersection of technology and design, conceptualizing novel quantitative approaches to patent data, in particular design patents, to demystify the value of design innovation. So what does this actually mean? My research book, co-authored with a patent examiner and a IP data analyst, covers the whole story. But today, we will explore together, in particular, today's complex design innovations in the midst of design paradigm shifts, using a design patent data and evidence from 3 world-leading companies. Before we go any further, let's pin down what we mean by paradigm shifts and what does this influence us. We experience change on a daily basis, but depending on how long that change lasts, there can be a fad, fashion, trend, or paradigm shifts. Take for example the idea of fashion. This is generally short-lived and it can be attractive, but nothing changes. However, if a certain style becomes popular for a certain length of time, we call it a trend. Like new trends in the car industry would be from gas to electronic, exterior aesthetics to in-car experience, or simple navigation to infotainment, and so more. So how does this connect to paradigm shifts? Compared to other types of changes, when paradigm shifts, our current framework, methodologies, and processes would not work. That means we have to come up with a new system. Since we are living in the midst of huge paradigm shifts in design, the current design system is untenable, requiring us to come up with a new design patent system which can respond to this change in a relevant manner. What about the notion of design? This term is often confusing because it's always changing, isn't it? And protection systems and laws about design often struggle to keep up with all these changes. I haven't been teaching at universities for 10 years now. At the beginning of every semester, I ask my students, who do you believe that are the most influential designers or design companies in the field today? This question is important because everyone seems to have a different idea of design. Now, if I asked you the same question 10 years ago, You might say designers from the fashion industry like Prada, Chanel. But nowadays, I am more likely to hear Steve Jobs from Apple, James Dyson from Dyson, Nespresso's unique coffee experience, Airbnb, or even Elon Musk's Tesla, which shows the increasingly fine line between technology, design, and user experience. So what is important here is that design is not limited to the product. Design is an ever-evolving field where technology and user experience are becoming just as important as aesthetics. So taking this into account, I will first introduce a new approach to IP-based R&D processing with the example of Nespresso's interesting innovative pathway, and this will be followed by 2 case studies. The first on how Apple exploits loopholes in the current patent system to make it work for them, and the second uses car interior design to show how we can change the current system to better incorporate new design paradigms. We will finish with a few takeaways from the investigation and discuss any future challenges that we will need to consider. Alright, a quick disclaimer before we jump in. I'm aware that there are some complications in the use of IP terminologies, as each patent office has its rules. In this particular talk, I will try to use terms like design patents, industrial designs, design rights, or registered community design for designs, and technology patents or utility patents, or simply patents for technical invention. Okay. As many companies pursue technology push innovation, they have prioritized utility patents. As a result, I feel that the value of technology patents have been greatly exaggerated. This current pathway of R&D processes you can see on the screen is so fixed in our minds that we often lump in the IP management processes thinking they are the same. However, we should not conflate the order and the value of the IP management processes. Let me clear, one IP, like a design or trademark, does not necessarily have to begin with the patent before obtaining other IPs. This figure on the screen illustrates how different IP values change in their life cycle. All IPs shows a clear upward trend in their value creation. In particular, in the early phase, utility and design patents appear to be very valuable than trademarks. At the very initial term, design patents in yellow line shows a higher value than the rest of IPs. Why is this? This is particularly due to the prompt examination process in design patents compared to utility patents, which take up more than 2 or 3 years to complete the grant. But once issued, the value of utility patents dramatically increases as products develop and slowly level off until the end of the protection term or any disruption of new technology. Surprisingly, the value of trademarks in red increased very slowly as it takes for a while to create brand recognition in markets. But once it is successful, its value continues to grow even after the end of design and utility patent. Likewise, the value of IPs change from their grant to expiry. They can also change throughout the product life cycle. So again, IP management does not necessarily have to begin with utility patents, followed by designs and trademarks in such a fixed manner. Every company can choose its own way of utilizing the best possible method to manage intellectual property and make themselves more competitive. So I will now show you some example cases from Nespresso. First, how does this relate to Nespresso? Personally, I'm a big fan of Nespresso. I have a good collection of their early models from the 2000s to the current Virtuo model. And this company is also an interesting business case for me, as it showcases a lot of disruptive innovation in the market. And even the way of managing intellectual property was not conventional. Let's first have a look at Nespresso's early advertisement and then share more stories.
Hello. You are George Clooney, aren't you?
Well, yes.
I've seen all of your films. And so charming, and you're so sexy. So generous. Excuse me. Are you Mr. George Clooney?
No, you must be mistaken. Nespresso. What else?
By the time Nespresso launched the machine in the early 2000s, their key technology for serving capsule-based coffee had no protection. Their core utility patents, granted in 1979, had already expired, so when launching their first Nespresso machine, there was no legal protection for the technology. And the question here is, how did Nespresso remain competitive for so long in such a situation? Here comes a design patent. The company maintained their competitive edge through their design patents for the capsule container, which means that competitors needed to replicate the exact design of the capsule to fit the machine, but with the design protection, they could not make comparable capsules. As a result, this design patent extended their market presence until 2012. Later, since their capsule design patent expired in 2012, we've seen a surge of Nespresso compatible capsules from various coffee machines, including Starbucks and Coffee Beans. Even boutique coffee shops offered their own capsules for a customized coffee experience. At the time, frankly speaking, I thought Nespresso's dominance in the coffee market might end. Without technology and design protection, what else could Nespresso do? Nespresso's last hope was their trademark, particularly in their 3D trademark for the capsule. If registered, the company could have indefinitely protected from the comparable capsules. However, the Swiss court declined their request due to the fact that the capsule has a technically necessary shape, even if it had become distinctive in the marketplace. Finally, this decision allowed competitors to keep fabricating identical capsules. So what remains for Nespresso? The company is now heavily investigating in their design, creating a unique user experience and enhancing the sensory appeal of their coffee to make distinctive in the market. Their hope is that a well-rounded design and brand will provide long-term protection in this competitive market. So here's an example of how Nespresso communicates their brand now.
Lost a bet.
So bold. He's double espresso, all the way. Nutty and sweet. Latte macchiato. Okay, George, this one's for the prize?
Intenso.
No, cool. Definitely iced. Sweet. Don't forget to recycle. Bye!
Unbelievable.
Unforgettable.
Nespresso. What else?
To summarize, first, we learned about the gradual shift in IP values from functional to non-functional aspects, such as aesthetic appeal of design and brand and even flavor. In our case study, while Nespresso strives for their technology protection, their design and trademarks offered a stronger competitive edge than any patent ever could. Moving on, Apple is another company that has taken innovative approaches to the IP-based R&D process, even reversing the typical order by prioritizing trademarks before the invention of their technology. When Apple was working on the very first high-resolution screen, they went ahead and trademarked the term Retina for the display. So why Retina? The term does not directly describe the technical specifications. Instead, it uses the human retina as a metaphor for being perceived as a superior technology where we cannot see individual pixels with the naked eyes. So what is the most interesting here is that the technology itself wasn't even ready at the time. However, this clever proactive naming strategy makes competitors' technology seems inferior and consolidate Apple's reputation as an innovator. As it stands, people think that the current R&D pathway is first, new technology acts as a catalyst for new R&D processes, which are then followed by the product. After that, this product is labeled with a corporate or brand identity, and finally delivered to customers. However, in reality, this R&D process is not always followed in this exact order. So here's what we should consider. First, integrating the transition of IP value into the R&D process is crucial for long-term success. Second, consider market needs and design changes first, and prioritize understanding them and match the relevant IPs. Lastly, rethink how to better leverage design patents and stay ahead in the market.